Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Before I begin today, a huge thank you to Liam from Down Under for the virtual gift voucher. Huge thank you for the support, my friend, it is truly appreciated, thank you. And a big hello to my friends down in Australia. But on to today. Today we're talking a topic that was posed in the last Q&A. Just what if Malcador the Sigillite returned next, rather than a loyalist Primarch? Oh boy, this is an interesting one to talk about. We've had little discussions before about whether Malcador could return, but today we're focusing on just what if he did. Okay, so first off, a message from today's sponsor, and then we will dive straight in. Do you want a fantasy RPG with a great story and a ton of awesome champions? Well, Raid Shadow Legends is the game for you. And today we're talking the High Elves. So make sure to use my links below to download Raid yourself to your mobile phone or PC. So the High Elves, the classic good guys. They've got the looks, a powerful sorceress for a queen, and they've been fighting evil since before that was cool. But just whose side are they on? Well, you'll need to play the campaign to find out. And just look at these awesome High Elven champions. They may just be my new favourite faction. And the great thing to me is you can use the rewards you earn by playing to summon new champions into your roster. Raid has got their biggest ever update already out, the Doom Tower. It's a giant tower with 120 floors, secret challenge rooms and 12 tough bosses to take on. And I just can't wait to dive in. There's really never been a better time to start playing. And the best part, the Raid team are giving away a bunch of new free goodies, plus an awesome new champion to help you take on the tower, the Bulwark. He's gonna be a huge help in the tower against those bosses. So make sure to hit the link in the description and claim your free champion, XP booster, 50 gems, energy refills, and even an ancient shard. Just look at this guy you're getting for free. You'll find the rewards in your inbox for the next 30 days only. And it's that easy, just click the link in the description and I'll see you in the game. Okay, so Malcador the Sigillite. By far and away one of my favourite characters within the entire lore. He's been there since the very beginning. For as long as records have spoke of the Emperor, they have spoke of Malcador by his side. Through the unification of Terra, the creation of the Primarchs, and the Great Crusade beyond, Malcador the Sigillite was integral to each of them. The presence of Malcador was the presence of the Emperor himself. And of course we all know the story of how he sacrificed himself upon the Golden Throne so that the Emperor may strike down his fallen son Horus. Malcador giving his life to hold the portal closed in those pivotal moments, saving his last kernel of strength for his longtime friend, allowing him to give his final orders before ascending the throne forever. And man, there's no doubt I will be shedding many a manly tear when we reach that point in the Siege of Terra series. It is going to be emotional. But then, this all leads us to the question of what if Malcador returned next, instead of a Primarch? And note the what if. We're not saying he will, we're just having fun discussing the what if scenario. Now the first thing to consider is really, what would Malcador make of this new Imperium? The state of the galaxy as a whole. We've seen the dramatic toll it's taken on Guilliman since he returned, a Primarch no less. So what of Malcador? And well, honestly, I think he'd take it much more in his stride. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he'd be happy. Far from it. The Imperium is in turmoil, with half of its people lost across the Great Rift, and Terra itself has been in revolt. And perhaps most poignantly for Malcador, the Emperor has been suffering upon the Golden Throne for over 10,000 years, having every aspect of his humanity stripped from him with each suffering moment. Of course, he'd be aghast at all of this. But Malcador has always been pragmatic, able to take things in his stride, and then act accordingly. And he has always been much more emotionally stable than any of the Primarchs, who, for all their godlike power, are extremely emotional within. Even the reserved ones such as Guilliman. Even at the height of the madness of the heresy, in its darkest of moments, Malcador was the guiding light for the Primarchs on Terra. And lastly, perhaps most importantly, Malcador has the ability to see the silver lining. To see the light where others are struggling. Yes, the situation is dire, but he would take strength in the fact that after 10,000 years, after everything that has been thrown at the Imperium, Terra still stands. The Imperium is still defiant. Even the souls lost amid the dark rally against its coming. And the Emperor still defies the ruinous powers. And he is now perhaps more powerful than ever. And speaking of Guilliman, how would he react to a returned Sigillite? Well, of course, he'd no doubt at first believe it to be a trick or ruse of chaos. But I think a meeting with Malcador would prove the truth quickly enough. Worst case, a little false choke from Malcador would whip him into line. Only joking, obviously. Well, maybe a little. Once reality is proven, Guilliman would undoubtedly be elated, for a multiple of reasons. No, Malcador wouldn't be fighting on the front line. He rarely left Terra in the Great Crusade, let alone with the Imperium in the state that it is now. But he wouldn't need to. With Malcador returned, Guilliman would never again have to worry about the politics of the throne world. Malcador would, in all probability, retake his role of Regent of Terra, and absolutely cleanse it of any and all corruption. Because unlike Guilliman, he wouldn't be off crusading amongst the stars. Malcador would undoubtedly remain upon Terra for the most part. And that steady presence would be invaluable. And I think Guilliman would freely and happily rescind this title to Malcador, leaving himself as just Lord Commander, allowing himself to be fully devoted to the Imperium's military forces, concentrating on nothing but its defense, taking the fight back to the ruinous powers, leaving the politics to Malcador, an absolute expert in that regard. Now, we haven't seen anything really of Guilliman's relationship with Malcador, so we don't know if he happily refers to him as uncle, as like a Sanguinius, or if it's a little more of a distant relationship but still amicable, such as with Jagatai. Either way, the presence of Malcador would still be invaluable for Roboute, perhaps more than any brother. For while Roboute is yearning to unburden his thoughts and doubts to one of his kin, Malcador would be able to provide a much more understanding and level-headed sounding board. He views the Primarchs as the children they are to him, truly feeling like he is their uncle, or substitute father if you will. He was there from their beginning, and he has seen them all grow into the beings they became. He would listen to Roboute, but also be able to provide that comfort and reassurance that Roboute was seeking from the Emperor, the reason he travelled the full length of the Imperium. Let's not make the mistake it was all about the defence of the Imperium. Roboute undoubtedly wanted to speak with his father, desperate to know if he was still alive. While not being able to replace that comfort entirely, Malcador would undoubtedly provide at least some of that aspect. And that could just be the saving grace for Roboute's mental health. Because as we have seen, even a Primarch can struggle. And speaking of the Emperor, if there's one being outside the Primarch who has a hope of reaching the last vestiges of humanity remaining within the Emperor upon the Golden Throne, you have to believe it's Malcador. Malcador of anyone may just be able to speak with his longtime friend. We've even seen the Emperor seemingly speak through Malcador at times. The Sigillite could literally once again become the mouthpiece of the Emperor. And for all these mental attributes that Malcador could provide, let's not entirely rule out the fact that he is an immensely powerful psyker. Perhaps second only to the Emperor himself, or third behind Magnus. Malcador definitely gives Magnus a run for his money. We have seen him literally put a Horus Lupercal across his knee and put him in his place, facing down 3 Primarchs at once, and basically having them beg him to stop. It's seriously one of the best moments out there. If you haven't read it, man, do yourself a favour and go read it now. I'll wait for you right here. Read it? See, I told you. The more I think about it, the more I come to the conclusion it could be the best thing for the Imperium if Malcador returned instead of a Primarch, at least in certain regards. You may not get all the pros of a Primarch, but you get none of the cons. It's an interesting debate to have, that is for sure. And for all the talk, could Malcador return? Could the Sigillite walk the Imperium once more? Well, his death was about as absolute an end as anyone has ever received. His body crumbling to dust and blowing across the throne room. Now, I'm no doctor, but that, I imagine, is hard to come back from. But if you like the theories, if you like those small glimmers of hope, well, Malcador is a perpetual, an immortal, and we've seen perpetuals come back from gruesome deaths before, Vulcan to say the least. So maybe, just maybe, all those grains of dust have been reforming somewhere, gradually, over the past 10,000 years. And Malcador the Sigillite is regaining life once more. But as always guys, what do you think? What do you think would happen if Malcador returned? How do you think it would play out? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.